Chapter 1, The Spiritual Roots Give Rise to the Source. Through the cultivation of heart and nature, the great Tao is born. The poem says, in chaos before the heavens and earth were separated, vast and indistinct, no one could see. Since Pangu broke the primordial mist, from then on, the distinction of purity and turbidity began. Covering and nurturing all living beings, they look up to great benevolence, illuminating all things, they all become good. To know the achievements of creation and transformation, one must look at the journey to the West, the tale of liberation. It is said that the number of heaven and earth is one cycle of 129,600 years. This cycle is divided into 12 periods, namely the 12 earthly branches, Zi, Chou, Yin, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Su, and Hai. Each period corresponds to 18,000 years. Now, discussing a single day, during the Zi hour, the yang energy emerges, while in the Chou hour, the rooster crows, in the Yin hour, light does not penetrate, while in the Mao hour, the sun rises, during the Chen hour, it's time to eat, while in the Si hour, preparations are made, at noon, Wu hour, the sun is at its zenith, while in the Wei hour, it moves west, in the Shen hour, it's afternoon, and the sun sets in the Yu hour, at dusk, Su hour, people settle down as it becomes the Hai hour. In terms of the greater cycle, when reaching the end of the Su period, the heavens and earth grow dim, and all things fall into decline. After 5,400 years, at the beginning of the Hai period, darkness prevails, and both heaven and earth are devoid of life, thus, it is called chaos. After another 5,400 years, as the Hai period comes to an end, the original energy begins to arise, approaching the Zi period, and gradually brightness returns. Shao Kangjie said, at the winter solstice, it is the midpoint of Zi, the heart of heaven does not change. It is the moment when yang first stirs, while all things are yet to be born. At this point, roots begin to emerge. After another 5,400 years, at the time of the Zi period, the light becomes clear and rises. There are the sun, the moon, the stars, and the constellations. The sun, moon, stars, and constellations are referred to as the four symbols. Therefore, it is said that heaven opened in the Zi. After another 5,400 years, as the Zi period comes to an end and approaches the Chou period, things gradually become solid. The Book of Changes states, great is the origin of Qian, profound is the origin of Kuan. All things derive their existence, following the way of heaven. At this point, the earth begins to solidify. After another 5,400 years, at the time of the Chou period, the heaviness and turbidity settle down. There are water, fire, mountains, stones, and earth. Water, fire, mountains, stones, and earth are referred to as the five forms. Therefore, it is said that the earth was opened in the Chou. After another 5,400 years, as the Chou period ends and the Yin period begins, all things come into being. The calendar states, heavenly energy descends, and earthly energy rises, heaven and earth unite, and all living things are born. At this point, the sky is clear, the earth is refreshing, and yin and yang are in harmony. After another 5,400 years, at the time of the Yin period, human beings, beasts, and birds are born, corresponding to heaven, earth, and humanity. The three talents are established in their places. Therefore, it is said that life arises in the Yin. Feeling the impact of Pangu's creation, the three sovereigns govern the world, and the five emperors establish order. Between heaven and earth, the world is divided into four great continents: Eastern Victory Divine Continent, Western Yohi Continent, Southern Jianbu Continent, and Northern Jiulu Continent. This book solely focuses on the Eastern Victory Divine Continent. Beyond the sea, there is a land called Aolai Country. The country is near the Great Sea, where there is a famous mountain in the sea called Flower Fruit Mountain. This mountain is the ancestral vein of the 10 continents and the source of the 3 islands, having been established after the separation of purity and turbidity, formed after the primordial chaos was distinguished. Indeed, it is a beautiful mountain. There is a poem to prove it. The poem says, it commands the vast ocean, its majesty pacifying the jade sea. It commands the vast ocean, where tides crash against the silver mountains and fish enter their nests. Its majesty pacifying the jade sea, where waves rise like snowdrifts and shrine leave the abyss. Water and fire converge, accumulating high mounds of earth. In the East Sea, a towering peak rises. Red cliffs and strange rocks, carved walls and extraordinary peaks. On the red cliffs, colorful phoenixes sing in pairs. In front of the carved walls, a lone Chilan rests. At the peak, one often hears the call of the golden pheasant. In the stone caves, one can observe the dragon coming and going. In the forest, there are longevity deer and immortal foxes. In the trees, there are spiritual birds and black cranes. Jade grass and wondrous flowers never wither, green pines and cypress thrive in eternal spring. Immortal peaches bear fruit year-round, tall bamboos often harbor clouds. A brook flows through a dense thicket of vines. On all sides, the grassy banks are vibrant and fresh. Truly, it is the meeting place of hundreds of rivers, a pillar holding up the sky, for eons unchanging, the root of the earth. At the very top of that mountain, there is a piece of immortal stone. The stone is 3 zhang, 6 qi, and 5 cun high, with a circumference of 2 zhang and 4 qi. 3 zhang, 6 qi, and 5 cun high, corresponding to the 365 degrees of the celestial circle. With a circumference of 2 zhang and 4 qi, it corresponds to the 24 solar terms of the calendar. There are 9 openings and 8 holes above, reflecting the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. On all sides, there are no trees to cast shade, yet, on the left and right, there are fragrant orchids complementing the stone. Since the time of creation, it has received the essence of heaven and the beauty of earth, absorbing the sun's brilliance and the moon's radiance for a long time, thus developing a spiritual connection and nurturing an immortal embryo within. One day, the stone suddenly split open, producing a stone egg, about the size of a round ball. Exposed to the wind, the stone egg gradually transformed into a stone monkey, with complete facial features and fully formed limbs. He immediately learned to crawl and walk, paying respects in all directions. His eyes emitted 2 beams of golden light that shot straight towards the celestial palace, alarming the supreme sage of heaven, the great compassionate Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor, seated in the cloud palace of the golden towers within the hall of divine radiance, gathered his celestial ministers. Upon seeing the blazing golden light, he ordered thousand-mile eye and wind-accompanying ear to open the southern heavenly gate and observe. The 2 generals, following the imperial decree, went outside to observe carefully and listen attentively. After a short while, they returned and reported, in obedience to the decree, we observed the source of the golden light. It is located in the borders of a small country in the eastern part of the eastern continent of Divine Land, near the Eastern Sea, where there is a mountain called Flower Fruit Mountain. On that mountain, there is a divine stone, which produced an egg. Exposed to the wind, the egg transformed into a stone monkey. The monkey was seen bowing in all directions, and its eyes emitted golden light that shot towards the celestial palace. Now, it is drinking water and eating food, and the golden light is beginning to fade. The Jade Emperor, in his benevolence, said, the being below is born from the essence of heaven and earth, which is nothing extraordinary. The monkey roamed the mountain, able to walk and leap. He ate grass and plants, drank from mountain streams, picked wildflowers, and gathered fruits. He lived alongside wolves and insects, mingled with tigers and leopards, befriended deer and roe, and treated gibbons and monkeys as kin. At night, he slept beneath rocky cliffs, and by day, he explored peaks and caves. Indeed, in the mountains, there are no cycles of time. As winter fades, one does not realize a year has passed. One day, when the weather turned hot, he and the group of monkeys sought refuge from the heat, playing and frolicking under the shade of the pines. Just look at them, one by one, jumping from tree to tree, climbing branches, picking flowers and searching for fruits, throwing stones and playing with toys, running in the sandy pits and building sandcastles, chasing dragonflies and swatting flies, visiting the old gods and paying respects to the bodhisattva, pulling vine and weaving grass into webs, catching lice, biting and pinching, combing their fur and cleaning their nails. Some are cuddling, and some are grooming each other, some are pushing, and some are pressing, some are pulling, and some are tugging. Under the green pine forest, they play freely, by the banks of the green stream, they wash and clean themselves. A group of monkeys played for a while and then went to wash themselves in the mountain stream. They saw the water rushing down, truly resembling a rolling melon splashing about. The ancient said, "Birds have their own language, and beasts have their own speech." The monkeys all said, "We don't know where this water comes from. Today, since we have nothing to do, let's follow the stream upstream to see where it leads and have some fun." With a shout, they all dragged along their mates, calling out to brothers and sisters, and together they ran, climbing up the mountain along the stream until they reached the source, which was a waterfall and a flying spring. They beheld the scene, a white rainbow rises, and thousands of snowy waves soar. The sea breeze blows continuously, and the river moon shines unwaveringly. The cool air spreads through the green peaks, and the remaining water nourishes the lush greenery. The babbling waters of the famous waterfall truly resemble hanging curtains. The monkeys clapped their hands in praise, saying, "Good water! Good water!" So this place connects directly to the waves of the sea from the foot of the mountain. They said again, "Which one of us has the ability to venture in and find the source without getting hurt? We shall honor him as our king." After calling out 3 times, suddenly a stone monkey jumped out from the bushes, responding loudly, "I will go in. I will go in." What a brave monkey! It was indeed he. "Today, my fame is shining bright, fortune is coming my way. By fate, I reside in this place, heaven has sent me to the celestial palace." You see him close his eyes and crouch down, then with a leap, he jumps directly into the waterfall spring. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and looks up, and there, inside, is a clear and bright bridge with no water or waves. He steadied himself and focused his mind, looking closely again. It turned out to be an iron bridge, with water rushing beneath it, flowing through the stone crevices and cascading out, blocking the bridge entrance. He leaned over at the bridgehead and walked further to take a look. It truly seemed like someone's dwelling, a remarkable place indeed. He beheld that green moss piled up like blue, white clouds floated like jade, and the light shimmered in wisps of smoke and mist. Quiet windows and serene rooms, where the smooth benches are adorned with flowers. The dragon pearl leans against the stalactite cave. Strange flowers twist and turn all over the ground. By the stove beside the cliff, traces of fire remain. On the table, the wine vessels show remnants of dishes. The stone seat and stone bed are truly delightful, the stone basin and stone bowl are even more praiseworthy. Again, 1 or 2 slender bamboos can be seen, along with 3 to 5 plum blossoms. A few evergreen pines often bear rain, resembling a home. After looking for a while, he jumped to the middle of the bridge and glanced around. In the center, he saw a stone tablet. On the tablet, there was a line of large regular script characters engraved: Huagua Mountain, a blessed land, Shui Lian Cave, a heavenly realm. The stone monkey was overjoyed, hurriedly leaped out and then crouched down again, jumping out of the water. He let out 2 hearty laughs and exclaimed, "What a great fortune! What a great fortune!" The other monkeys surrounded him and asked, "What's it like inside? How deep is the water?" The stone monkey said, "No water. No water. It turns out there's an iron bridge. Beyond the bridge is a naturally formed abode." The other monkeys said, "How can you tell it's an abode?" The stone monkey laughed and said, "This stream flows down through the stone crevice beneath the bridge, cascading down and blocking the entrance. There are flowers and trees by the bridge, and it is a stone house. Inside the house, there are stone pots, stone stoves, stone bowls, stone basins, stone beds, and stone stools. In the middle, there is a stone tablet inscribed with, Huagua Shan, the blessed land, water curtain cave, celestial abode. This truly is our place of residence. The interior is spacious enough to accommodate thousands of people, young and old. If we all move in, we can avoid suffering from the elements outside. Inside here, when the wind blows, there's a place to hide, when it rains, there's a shelter to stay. Frost and snow bring no fear, and the sound of thunder is never heard. Mists and clouds shine constantly, and auspicious signs rise every day. Pine and bamboo flourish year after year, and wondrous flowers bloom anew each day. When the monkeys heard this, they were all delighted and said, "You go ahead first and take us in." Go in. The stone monkey, however, closed his eyes and crouched down, then jumped inside, shouting, "Everyone, follow me in. Come in." The bolder monkeys jumped in, the timid ones hesitated, peeking in and scratching their ears, making loud cries. After a while, they all went in as well. Once they jumped over the bridge, each one grabbed pots and bowls, fighting for stoves and beds, moving things here and there. True to their mischievous nature, there was no one who could settle down until they were exhausted from all the moving. The stone monkey sat upright and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, a person without trust does not know what is possible. You just said that if anyone has the ability to enter and exit freely without harming themselves, then they should be honored as king. Now that I can go in and out, finding this celestial abode for everyone to rest comfortably and enjoy the blessings of a family, why not honor me as king?" Upon hearing this, the monkeys all bowed without hesitation, forming a line and paying their respects, all calling him Grand King. From that day on, the stone monkey ascended to the throne, dropping the stone title and thus being known as the handsome Monkey King. There is a poem to attest to this, which goes, "Three yangs converge, giving birth to a multitude, the immortal stone holds the essence of the sun and moon. Using borrowed eggs to nurture monkeys completes the great way, with false names and surnames, one attains the alchemical essence. Internally observing, one does not recognize the formless cause, externally combining, one clearly knows the creation of form. Throughout the ages, everyone belongs to this, they claim kingship and sanctity, free to roam and wander." The great Monkey King led a group of monkeys, including the common monkeys, macaques, and horse monkeys, assigning roles of rulers, ministers, and aides. They roamed the flower and fruit mountain by day and rested in the water curtain cave by night. They shared a bond of unity and sympathy, avoiding the flocks of flying birds and the herds of wild beasts, living independently as kings in unparalleled joy. Therefore, in spring, they gather hundreds of flowers for food, in summer, they seek various fruits to sustain their lives. In autumn, they harvest taro and chestnuts to extend the season, in winter, they search for yellow essence to pass the year gracefully. The great Monkey King enjoyed a carefree and joyful life, unaware that 300 to 500 years had passed. One day, while celebrating with the group of monkeys, he suddenly became troubled and shed tears. The monkeys hurriedly bowed and asked, "Why is our king so troubled?" The Monkey King replied, "Though I am in a time of joy, there is a distant worry that troubles me." The monkeys laughed again and said, "Our king is too ungrateful. We gather happily every day in this blessed place on the celestial mountain, in ancient caves and divine lands. We are not subject to the control of unicorns or phoenixes, nor are we bound by the laws of human kings. We are free and at ease, enjoying immeasurable blessings. Why should there be any distant worries or concerns?" The Monkey King said, "Although today we are not under the laws of human kings and do not fear the might of beasts, in the future, as I grow old and my blood weakens, there will be the king of hell watching over me in secret. Once I die, will I not have wasted my life in this world, unable to remain among the celestial beings for long?" Upon hearing these words, each monkey covered their face and wept, all concerned about the impermanence of life. Suddenly, from among the group, a Tongbei monkey leaped out and shouted in a fierce voice, "If the great king has such distant worries, it truly reflects the development of the Tao heart. Among the 5 insects, there are only 3 categories of beings that are not subject to the control of the king of hell." The Monkey King asked, "Do you know who those 3 categories are?" The monkey replied, "They are the Buddha, the Immortal, and the holy deity. These three escape the cycle of reincarnation, neither being born nor perishing, living as long as heaven, earth, and the mountains and rivers. The Monkey King inquired, "Where do these three reside?" The monkey answered, "They dwell only in the Jambudvipa world, within the ancient caves and celestial mountains." Upon hearing this, the Monkey King was filled with joy and said, "Tomorrow, I will bid you farewell and descend the mountain, wandering to the ends of the sea and crossing distant horizons, determined to seek out these three beings and learn the secret of eternal life, so I can always evade the challenges posed by the King of Hell." Ah! With this declaration, he immediately leaped out of the cycle of reincarnation, which led to the great sage equal to heaven coming into being. The monkeys applauded and praised him, all saying, "Excellent! Excellent! Tomorrow, we will climb the mountains and cross the ridges, searching for fruits and preparing a grand feast to send off our king." The next day, the monkeys indeed went to gather immortal peaches, pick rare fruits, dig up mountain yams, slice yellow essence, and collect fragrant orchids and herbs, as well as exquisite flowers. They brought back all kinds of items, arranging them neatly. They set up stone benches and stone tables, laying out celestial wine and delicacies. As they were preparing, they beheld, golden balls and pearls burst forth, red blooms and yellow plumpness. Golden balls and pearls of waxy cherries, their color is truly sweet, red blooms and yellow plump ripe plums, their taste is fragrant and sour. Fresh longan, with sweet flesh and thin skin, fire lychee, small seed and red pouch. Apples with green fruit hanging from branches, loquats with silken buds holding leaves aloft. Rabbit-head pears and chicken heart dates, quenching thirst and dispelling worries, they awaken the senses. Fragrant peaches and soft apricots, their sweetness akin to jade liquid and fine nectar. Crisp plums and waxberries, sour and rich like fatty butter and cream. Ripe watermelons with red pips and black seeds, four-petal yellow-skinned persimmons. Pomegranates burst open, revealing fire crystal beads like cinnabar, chestnuts split open, their hard flesh like golden agate. Walnuts and ginkgo nuts can be used for tea, coconuts and grapes can be made into wine. Hazelnuts, pines, and cypress fill the plate, oranges, sugarcane, and tangerines overflow the table. Well-cooked mountain yams, and well-boiled yellow essence. Pound the poria and Job's tears, simmering in a stone pot over a gentle fire. Though there may be rare and exquisite delicacies in the human world, how can they compare to the joy of the mountain monkeys, which brings such peace? The group of monkeys honored the great Monkey King by seating him above, and they all lined up below according to their ranks. One by one, they took turns coming forward to offer wine, flowers, and fruits, drinking heartily throughout the day. The next day, the great Monkey King rose early and instructed, "You little ones, gather some dead pine branches for me, weave them into a raft, find a bamboo pole to use as a paddle, and prepare some fruits and other items. I shall set off." He then boarded the raft alone, making every effort to push it away. It floated gently and swayed, heading straight toward the waves of the sea, taking advantage of the wind to cross over to the southern region of Jambudvipa. This journey marked the beginning of that, heavenly-born immortal monkey possessed profound skills. Leaving the mountain, he set out on a raft, taking advantage of the wind. Drifting across the ocean in search of the immortal path, determined to dedicate his heart to achieving great feats. With destiny and affinity, he let go of worldly desires, without worries or cares, he unite with the primordial dragon. Surely he will meet kindred spirits along the way, revealing the origins and principles of all things. As fortune would have it, after he boarded the wooden raft, a series of southeast winds propelled him toward the northwestern shore, bringing him to the borders of Jambudvipa. He used the paddle to test the water and found it shallow, so he abandoned the raft and jumped ashore. Upon reaching the beach, he saw people fishing, hunting geese, digging for clams, and sifting for salt. He approached and played a trick, disguising himself to frighten them, which caused the people to drop their baskets and nets, scattering in all directions. He captured one who couldn't run away, stripped him of his clothes, and donned them himself. Swaying and swaggering, he passed through towns and cities, imitating people's manners and speech. Day and night, he sought to learn about the paths of Buddhas, immortals, and deities, looking for ways to attain immortality. He observed that the people of the world were all motivated by fame and fortune, with no one truly concerned for their lives. This was precisely the case. How long will they compete for fame and seize profit? Rising early and sleeping late, they are not free. Riding a donkey or mule, they long for a steed. Holding an official position, they aspire to be lords. They only worry about their clothing and food, laboring tirelessly, fearing nothing from the king of hell when he comes to collect. Pursuing wealth and status for their children and grandchildren, not a single one is willing to turn back. The Monkey King, in search of the immortal path, had no fortune in encountering it while in Jambudvipa. He wandered along the Great Wall and explored small towns, not realizing that 8 or 9 years had passed. Suddenly, he arrived at the vast Western Ocean, and he thought to himself that there must be immortals overseas. So, he fashioned another raft and drifted across the Western Sea, reaching the borders of Shinyohajo. Upon landing, he searched for some time until he unexpectedly came across a beautiful high mountain, with serene forests at its base. He was unafraid of wolves or insects, and he did not fear tigers or leopards. He climbed to the mountain's peak to take a look. Indeed, it was a splendid mountain, 1,000 peaks open like halberds, 10,000 cliffs stand like screens. The sun reflects the mist, lightly locking in the emerald, while rain gathers the dark hues, cool and containing green. Withered vines entwine ancient trees, an old fairy marks a secluded path. Rare flowers and auspicious grasses, tall bamboos and lofty pines. Tall bamboos and lofty pines, evergreen for countless ages, sheltering this blessed land. Rare flowers and auspicious grasses bloom in all seasons, never fading in the Penglai Isles. The distant cries of birds are near, the sound of springs gurgling clear. In every deep valley, the orchids and fungi intertwine. Everywhere, steep cliffs are alive with moss. The undulating mountain ridges are a good dragon vein. Surely there are high beings hiding their names. As he was observing the scenery, he suddenly heard voices coming from deep within the forest. Quickly, he hurried his steps, entered the woods, and listened intently. It turned out to be the sound of singing, and the song went, observing the chess game, the axe strikes with a sound. At the valley entrance by the clouds, I stroll slowly. Selling firewood and wine, I laugh joyfully, lost in my feelings. The gray path is high in autumn, under the moon, I rest at the pine roots, drifting into slumber until dawn breaks. I recognize the old forest, climbing cliffs and crossing ridges, with an axe in hand, I cut the withered vines. Gathering them into a load, I sing as I head to the market, exchanging them for 3 measures of rice. There's no competition at all, the prices are fair and steady. Not concerned with schemes or calculations, with no shame or honor, I live peacefully and calmly. Wherever I meet, it's either an immortal or a sage, quietly sitting, discussing the Huang Ting. The great Monkey King, upon hearing these words, felt a surge of joy and said, "So the immortals are hidden here." He hurriedly jumped inside to take a closer look and saw that it was a woodcutter there, wielding an axe to chop wood. However, his appearance was quite extraordinary. On his head, he wore a bamboo hat, made from the fresh shoots just shed from the stalk. His body was clad in simple clothes, spun from cotton into fine fabric. Around his waist he tied a cord, crafted from silk spit by old silkworms. On his feet he wore grass sandals, woven from dried rushes into a refreshing style. In his hand, he held a genuine steel axe, and he carried a bundle of fire hemp rope. He pulled and split the dead trees. Who could compare to this woodcutter? The Monkey King approached and called out, "Old immortal, I have come to pay my respects." The woodcutter hurriedly dropped his axe and turned around to return the greeting, saying, "No, no. I am unworthy. How could I be called an immortal, when my clothing and food are insufficient?" The Monkey King replied, "If you are not an immortal, how could you speak such words of wisdom?" The woodcutter said, "What immortal words have I spoken?" The Monkey King responded, I just arrived at the edge of the forest and heard you say, wherever we meet, it's either an immortal or a sage, quietly sitting, discussing the Huang Ting. The Huang Ting is a true teaching of Tao. How can you say you are not an immortal? The woodcutter laughed and said, to be honest with you, this phrase is called Manting Fong, taught to me by an immortal. That immortal lives next door to me, and seeing my family struggling with labor and daily worries, he advised me that whenever I feel troubled, I should recite this phrase. It helps to ease my mind and alleviate my troubles. I was merely reflecting on my own shortcomings and reciting it, and it seems you overheard me. The Monkey King replied, since your home is close to the immortal, why don't you cultivate under him? If you learn the way to immortality, wouldn't that be wonderful? The woodcutter said, my life has been one of hardship. From a young age, my parents raised me until I was 8 or 9 years old. Unfortunately, my father passed away, and my mother became a widow. I have no siblings, only myself, and I had no choice but to serve her day and night. Now that my mother is old, I dare not leave her side. The fields are overgrown, and we lack clothing and food, so I can only chop a couple of bundles of firewood and carry them to the market to exchange for a few coins, just enough to buy a few measures of rice. I prepare some tea and meals to support my elderly mother, which is why I cannot pursue cultivation. The Monkey King replied, from what you say, you are indeed a filial gentleman, and you will surely have good fortune in the future. But I hope you can tell me where that immortal lives, so I can pay him a visit. The woodcutter replied, not far, not far. This mountain is called Lingtai Fangsuan Mountain, and within it is a cave known as the Shiyue Sanqing Cave. In that cave lives an immortal called Patriarch Suputi. He has countless disciples, and even now, there are still 30 or 40 people cultivating under him. If you follow that little path and head south for about 7 or 8 miles, you will reach his place. The Monkey King grabbed the woodcutter's hand and said, old brother, you should come with me. If I gain any benefits, I will definitely not forget your kindness in guiding me. The woodcutter responded, you are quite naive. I just told you all this, and you still don't understand. If I go with you, won't that interfere with my business? Who will take care of my elderly mother? I need to chop firewood, so you should go on your own. Upon hearing this, the Monkey King could only bid farewell. He left the deep forest, searched for the path, and crossed a hillside. After about 7 or 8 miles, he indeed saw a cave dwelling. He stood tall to observe it. It was truly a beautiful place, and he could see, mist and haze scatter colors, the sun and moon sway their light. Thousands of old cypresses, countless segments of bamboo. The thousands of old cypresses, shrouded in rain, rise slowly in the half-empty sky. The countless bamboo segments, veiled in mist, cast a deep green hue over the valley. Outside the gate, strange flowers adorn the scene. By the bridge, fragrant herbs exude their scent. The stone cliffs rise sharply, moist with green moss, while the hanging walls display long emerald ferns. At times, the sound of immortal cranes calls out, and often one sees phoenixes soaring. When the cranes call, their voices resonate across the 9 ravines and reach the heavens. As the phoenix takes flight, its colorful feathers gleam like a rainbow. Dark monkeys and white deer appear and vanish, while golden lions and jade elephants roam freely, concealed or visible. Upon closer inspection, this truly is a sacred place of blessings. Indeed, it rivals heaven itself. He then noticed that the cave door was tightly shut, quiet and devoid of any signs of human presence. Suddenly, he turned around and saw a stone tablet standing at the top of the cliff, about 10 feet tall and over 8 feet wide. On it was inscribed a line of 10 large characters, Lingtai Fangsuan Mountain, Shiyue Sanqing Cave. The Monkey King was overjoyed, saying, indeed, the people here are simple and genuine. There truly exists this mountain and this cave. After admiring it for a while, he didn't dare to knock on the door, so he jumped up to the top of a pine branch, picked some pine nuts to eat, and played around. After a little while, a sound of "ah" was heard, and as the cave door opened, a celestial youth walked out. He was truly handsome and majestic, with a unique appearance that set him apart from ordinary mortals. One could see that he was, with hair tied in double strands, wide sleeves billow in the wind. His demeanor is gentle, and his figure is distinct, with a heart that is completely void of attachments. A perennial guest beyond worldly matters, an eternal youth residing in the mountains. Not a speck of dust clings to him, while the years come and go without a care. The youth came out of the door and shouted, "Who is making a disturbance here?" The Monkey King leaped down from the tree and approached, bowing as he said, "Celestial youth, I am a disciple here to seek the way and learn the methods of immortality. I would never dare to cause any disturbance." The celestial youth smiled and said, "So you are a seeker of the way?" The Monkey King replied, "Yes." The youth continued, "My master has just settled in, and he is about to give a lecture on the Tao. Before he could explain the purpose, he instructed me to come out and open the door, saying, 'There is a practitioner outside who has come, go and receive him.' You must be the one he meant." The Monkey King laughed and said, "That's me, that's me." The youth said, "Come in with me." The Monkey King straightened his clothing and followed the youth into the depths of the cave. There were layers upon layers of deep halls and exquisite towers, and countless pearl pavilions and shell palaces, all indescribably serene and tranquil, extending all the way to beneath the jade platform. He saw the Bodhi Patriarch seated on the platform, with 30 small celestial attendants standing below on either side. Indeed it was, the great awakening golden immortal has a pure form, the wonderful appearance Bodhi of the West. Neither born nor extinguished, the threefold path unfolds, full of energy and spirit, countless are their kindness. Empty and quiet, they naturally follow change, true to their original nature, they act as they will. With the same longevity as heaven, their majestic body, they are the great Dharma masters who understand through eons. Upon seeing the great master, the Monkey King prostrated himself and bowed repeatedly, not counting the number of his kowtows, while repeatedly saying, "Master! Master! I, your disciple, sincerely pay my respects. Sincerely pay my respects." The master said, "Where are you from? Speak clearly about your hometown and name before bowing again." The Monkey King replied, "I am from the Water Curtain Cave on Flower Fruit Mountain in the proud land of the Eastern Victory Divine Continent." The master commanded, "Throw him out. He is just a trickster and a pretender, what can he possibly learn here?" The Monkey King hurriedly continued to bow, saying, "Disciple speaks the truth, there is no deceit." The master responded, "If you are indeed honest, then why do you claim to be from the Eastern Victory Divine Continent? To come here, you must cross 2 vast oceans, with one being the southern Jambudvipa. How could you have arrived here?" The Monkey King kowtowed again and said, "I have drifted across the ocean and traveled extensively for more than 10 years before finally arriving here." The master said, "Since you have gradually come here, that's fine. What is your surname?" The Monkey King replied, "I have no surname. If someone curses me, I do not get angry, if someone strikes me, I do not resent it, I just return the courtesy and that's all. I have lived my whole life without a surname." The master asked, "Not that kind of surname. What was your parents' surname originally?" The Monkey King answered, "I have no parents." The master inquired, "If you have no parents, then you must have been born from a tree?" The Monkey King said, "Although I was not born from a tree, I did grow from a rock. I only remember that there is a magical stone on Flower Fruit Mountain, and one year, when the stone cracked, I was born." Upon hearing this, the master felt secretly pleased and said, "This means you were generated by heaven and earth. Get up and walk around so I can see." The Monkey King jumped up and walked back and forth a couple of times. The master laughed and said, "Though your body is quite humble, you resemble a monkey that eats pine nuts. I will give you a surname based on your form. How about Hu?" The character Hu has a beast radical, but it also contains the character Gu meaning old, Yu represents Een. The old Een cannot give birth. So instead, how about Sun? The character Sun has no beast radical, and contains the character Z, which means boy. 11 represents something small. This aligns with the essence of being an infant. I shall bestow upon you the surname, Sun. The Monkey King was overjoyed to hear this and bowed deeply, saying, Good. 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 Today I finally know my surname. I sincerely hope that Master will show mercy. Since I now have a surname, I would also like to ask for a name that I can be called. The Master replied, In our sect, there are 12 characters used for naming. You are the 10th generation of my small disciples. The Monkey King asked, What are those 12 characters? The Patriarch said, The 12-character mantra is, Guan, De, Ji, Hui, Zhen, Ru, Xing, Hai, Ing, Wu, Yuan, Ju. According to the order, you fall under the character Wu, meaning enlightenment. Thus, I will give you the Dharma name Sun Wukong, meaning awakened to emptiness. How does that sound? The Monkey King laughed and said, Good. 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 From now on, I will be called Sun Wukong. Indeed, in the primordial chaos, there was originally no surname, only by breaking through the void does one attain Wukong. Yet, it remains unknown what kind of Tao fruit he will cultivate in the future. Let's listen to the next chapter for further developments.